The term doomer was reported in 2008 as being used in early internet peaknik communities, as on internet forums where members discussed the theorized point in time when oil extractions would stop due to lack of resources, followed by societal collapse. Doomers of the mid-aughts subscribed to various ideas on how to face this impending collapse, including doomsday prepping, as well as more contemporary feelings of resignation and defeat. You might have seen this guy if you've been on the internet in the last 5 or so years. This is the Doomer Wojak, and he, each day, more and more, represents the modern average 16 to 30-year-old. He has his up days, he has his down days, his whatever these days are, get that off the screen. But I don't know what people realize about this guy. He might represent us, a single representing the base mindset of thousands. More than just a person, he's an idea of never-ending pessimism, even within the confines of happiness. We'll circle back around to him later. I played Subnautica throughout its early access, just messing around using commands, never digging deeper into the game further than the most recent objective add-ons. I never took the game seriously, never bothered to truly explore its benthos, always just staying on the shallow end. I have thalassophobia. The ocean terrifies me, hell, even just decently sized bodies of water. It's a never-ending abyss, willing to swallow you whole with no remorse or thought behind it. Ooh, it's not right. But I still managed to play through all of Subnautica on its release. And when I say I play through, I mean I played through the entire game, without knowing much other than a couple of creatures in it, since I've never dared to go deeper myself before. But upon release, I took the plunge. I never wanted to go deeper at any point, but I felt like I had to. I felt like I had to discover more about the mysterious Degassi crew, the world, and what I felt like was the most disheartening, the long-lost precursors. The precursors, as you come to learn throughout the game, are a long-lost species and are highly intelligent. You never get to meet any, only leftover remnants of their species. Large, museum-like structures, built almost for the purpose of showing off their accomplishments. Their cannons built into islands, glowing with the bright wealth of gold and diamonds and oh, shit, are you serious? Okay, apparently we're in debt. Anyway, throughout exploring, you learn of their intellect, their skills, how they are superior to humans in every way, and yet they're gone. While writing the script for this video, a small indie game began to boom online. You might have seen it. It's one that I found myself playing with friends quite a lot. Lethal Company is a co-op horror game that sees you working for the company. Not a lot of lore is known about this game, but there's this atmosphere around it. All hope is lost, you're working for some company, collecting scrap to feed it to an ever-growing hungrying creature, with a quota increasingly rising and rising past human limits. Am I allowed to question what the company is, or is that against company policy?
It's company policy.
Okay. That pissed him off.
Oh yeah, it's early morning for this guy. Okay, you took our goods. I'm gonna go to the store.
All just for you to be forgotten about and launched into space. It has this aura to it, a sense of endless doom to it, and yet it's really fun. You find time to laugh, time to joke, and above it all, time to relax.
Moons. All right, we're good. We're going back to.
Now, sure, alone, this game is terrifying, but you can still find minuscule moments of enjoyment. All of the games listed in this video have been out since 2016, so Benjamin's theory of aura is relevant to all the games listed, though I feel it's most present with Lethal Company. Not only for the fact of it getting bigger right after Halloween, so a little of that horror spirit is still looming in the air, but also because as we continue forward, the fear of doom-like capitalism taking over the world grows more rampant by the day. Coming up on about a year since Elon bought Twitter, and so far he's, well... And now he's threatening to buy Wikipedia, so people are growing ever concerned if only a few owning a majority. It's because of this, I feel like Walter Benjamin's idea of the aura reigns supreme with Lethal Company. The idea of an aura is that any piece of art can be reproduced, but never replicated due to its lack of time and space. If Lethal Company came out a decade ago, it would probably be perceived the same, but the feel of the game would be different. Very similar to how Among Us came out in 2018, yet it only became big during the COVID-19 pandemic. One, I can only assume due to the lack of people being allowed outside, but also credit to the idea of people's diminishing trust in each other. It's due to this aura of capitalist uncertainty that I believe Lethal Company is thriving, but it's not just under the capitalist doom or view controlling the game's atmosphere. It's heavily hinted at in the game that all of humanity, or at least a large majority of it, have lost control over their own free will and lives. They can't do anything other than work for the company. Part of the doomer ideology is the thought of being stuck at the bottom of the corporate ladder, doomed to forever work low-paying jobs and be someone else's servant. Minimum wage in the US hasn't changed since 2009, despite the overall price of living having increased drastically. Even the government themselves understand the problem, but they can't do anything about it, at least from what we can tell. But what else are you going to do in this day and age? At least you have a little wins in your life, the little jokes here and there. But always remember, the company comes first. Alright, here's to the company building. We love
We
the
are
company.
going.
As you continue swimming deeper and deeper, you find more artifacts left over from the precursor species, including a suspiciously human-looking sword. It'll look nice with all of your posters you stole from the wreckage of the Aurora. But as you begin swimming even deeper and deeper, you also begin finding more and more dangers, amongst which includes the Warpers. Strange, purple, almost cybernetic creatures that seem to be chasing you down. Additionally, you get a strange log in your life pod.
9 new biological subjects designated. Mode. Hunting. Analyzing. Sharing subject locations with other agents.
I'm sure that means nothing, though. Another oddity you run into is being infected. You begin growing green spots. Your scanner claims you're infected, but you're not the only one. Throughout your adventures, you'll find infected creatures alongside you, but hey, what else are you gonna do? One step at a time, right? Plus, I'm sure it's fine to eat the fish. The spots probably taste like green apple? Firewatch is a strange game. Many people were disappointed by its ending, and I get it. It is a disappointing game, but it's supposed to be. Firewatch sees you, Henry, taking the job of a forest Firewatch patroller. You meet a woman named Delilah, though you never actually meet her. Instead, you just hear and talk to her through the walkie-talkies. You end up doing some jobs, and you go to investigate some stuff about illegal fireworks. You end up stopping some girls, and the job carries on. Later, you investigate a cut communications line, but you learn it was just the girls from the beginning getting back at you. You eventually find a backpack and camera belonging to a person named Brian. Delilah explains that Brian was the son of a guy named Ned, who was a previous lookout. Ned was a heavy alcoholic due to trauma from the Vietnam War, but he found home in the woods with his son, even though they weren't supposed to bring their kids to the job, though Delilah and Ned never obeyed these rules, until eventually both went missing suddenly. Eventually, you and Delilah make a plan to scare the girls off, though it all goes awry when you find their campsite ransacked and them missing. About 2 months later, after Henry takes the job, a small wildfire breaks out south of your patrol tower. About 2 weeks later, while fishing, Henry finds transcripts of illegal conversations between him and Delilah, but is quickly beaten unconscious by someone and wakes up to the transcripts missing. With some information, he goes to a government campsite, where he finds surveillance devices and more transcripts of him and Delilah's conversation and private lives. They make a plan of destroying the government camp, but decide against it. As Henry leaves, the camp is shown to be set on fire. Using a tracking device he found at the government camp, he enters into a mysterious cave before being quickly pulled out by Delilah, mentioning seeing a shadowy figure at Henry's lookout tower. As Henry rushes back, he is too late, and finds a Walkman with a recorded conversation of him and Delilah planning to destroy the government camp. Later, Henry finds himself exploring the cave, and soon finds a decayed body of a young boy, smashed by rocks and rubble. As Henry leaves the cave, he gives the news to Delilah, who becomes very upset. Soon after, an evacuation request is sent out to the lookouts due to the campfire and the wildfire combining into a legitimate forest threat. On Henry's last day on the job, he finds Ned's hideout, along with a tape of Ned confessing everything. Brian's death was simply a climbing accident, and Ned refused to re-enter society after his son's death, instead continuing to live in the forest. The government camp was simply studying wildlife, and in the end, Delilah leaves on a helicopter before you finally get to meet her, and you say your goodbyes over the radio. It's sad, almost incomplete ending. There's no larger mystery, no crazy conspiracies, just a forest. Firewatch is a terribly sad game. It's about a forest that people go to after traumatic experiences in their lives, and yet you have to watch it burn out. Everyone has to leave the safety, and in the end, no one's happy or satisfied with anything that's happened. What's the point? The forest burns down in the end anyway, right? There's no point in continuing. Happy or sad, the forest burns down. This may feel like a strange game to include, but there's a feeling of unending sadness throughout it, and it's the only emotion that remains in the end. It's a game that really captures the doomer mindset a lot of the time when viewed from its message. Nothing matters anyway, so why continue, right? The fire burns it all down, so why bother? It's not exciting, it's not crazy, it's just a story of a group of traumatized people trying their best, just to have it all burn down in the end. Along the lost river of Subnautica, you come across a ruined precursor base, fall into shambles with the world around it having taken over. It's here you learn more about the Warpers and the Kara disease. The Kara is extremely deadly and highly infective. The Warpers and the cannon that shot you down are both remnants of a cure to the Kara from the precursors. They tried to outlive death itself and failed, with only the artificial being left behind. As you begin swimming deeper and deeper, finding larger and larger threats, you find yourself in front of the largest precursor base in the active lava zone, the deepest part of the crater you've been swimming around. The primary containment facility. What could lay inside its massive walls, guarded by a giant sea dragon leviathan? As you enter inside, you make your way around the facility, finding artifacts, studying rooms, and many interesting discoveries. But making your way further forward, you enter the main room of the facility, a large, open room with a pool sunken deep into its floor.
Are you here to play? Others came here once. They built these walls. They played alone. They bored me. Now they're gone. And instead, we have you. We are curious whether you swim with the current or fight against it as they did.
Swimming deeper finds you encased with the Sea Emperor, trapped in a large containment facility along with 5 of its unhatched eggs. She explains that to hatch the eggs, you will need to go out and gather organic matter to craft the hatching enzymes. The precursors were doomed from the beginning. They thought they could tempt the world itself, and through more and more control, they found themselves deeper and deeper in debt to it. One of the more optimistic doomers you might find is known as an eco-modernist, someone who believes humanity will thrive and beat climate change, but only through the use of further technological advancements. And while some believe technology is all that's needed to end the climate crisis, others are more doubtful in close future advancements. Risk of Rain games mean a lot to me. I started playing the second game quickly when it released into early access, and I've been fond of it ever since. It's mostly the gameplay loop that's always enticed me so much, especially since it's such a simple yet complicated loop to go through. But it was soon after the full release of the game that I started looking to its deeper story, the story of two brothers, of two gods, and of the two ships that came to kill them. Risk of Rain 1 follows you and your crew on the UES Contact Light, a simple cargo ship floating in space. However, after getting too close to a planet known as Petrichor 5, a mysterious figure comes along board the ship and ruins everything, sending the ship, along with its passengers, flying down into the mysterious lands of Petrichor 5. Risk of Rain, along with its sequel, finds you playing as one of many survivors, making your way across the planet, killing creatures and opening locked chests for items, to eventually kill one of two bosses depending on the game. Risk of Rain 1 has you fighting Providence and taking back the remains of the UES Contact Light, with a different ending message depending on the character you played as. The sequel is pretty much the same, though with more dimensions, both in the physical and ironic sense, and at the end sees you killing Mithrix, and returning home with an ending message as well. Though all of the ending messages are interesting, Commando, the base character of both games, has I think the most simple and to the point ending message the game conveys. Risk of Rain sees us as humans, being interrupted by nature itself, represented by two brothers and two gods, Providence and Mithrix, creators of the very world we explore, and yet our response is to slaughter numerous creatures, buy our own products, and kill the very beings that made this planet what it is, and then leave with what consequences there are. I think the message of the Commando isn't reflected onto him from himself, but rather a story of a man who has become less man without even realizing it. It's clear that in Risk of Rain, humanity has the resources to help Petrichor 5, and Providence even thinks about helping humanity, but seeing its insolence and ignorance decides it's best not to, leading to his death by the hands of humans. We aren't the good guys in Risk of Rain, but what else are we going to do? We have nothing else to do than return back home to be happy again, even if it takes the destruction of an entire planet. And so you help the Sea Emperor hatch her eggs and build your spaceship to leave this planet better than how you found it? But you had to do this to survive, right? And hey, you freed the Emperor's children. You basically cured the planet of an entire disease. And now you get to go home, back to your capitalist utopia. Back to your unpaid debts. Leave your friends, your time alone. But this place is extremely dangerous. You don't belong here. Except, well, I guess you've managed to find a life here, right? Should you stay here? Should you try and clean up and just live a life of solitude on this planet? Now that you've grown accustomed to it?